Thank you for tuning in to Think Tech. I'm your host, Attila Seress. In our series, Next Big Thing, we look for people who are doing great things and give them a place to share it with the world. Today, we have Spencer Toyama. He's with SodoKrew. They're an IT solutions company here in Hawaii. Thanks so much for joining us here in the studio. And I hope I did a good job in explaining what you guys do. IT solutions, that sounds kind of generic. Why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
I think it's always a little, that's always the challenge in figuring out what we do. But we basically build web products. We view ourselves as problem solvers. So we're trying to solve the relevant problems to our community and focusing on web solutions in energy, education, and travel infrastructure, which are kind of like the three big problems that we have here in Hawaii. Well, with energy, we work a lot with the Blue Planet Foundation, so we are helping them with a few web projects. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to talk about yet, because
you're allowed to say anything you like on Think Tech. It's okay.
Well, I don't know what I'm allowed to disclose from their projects, but they're working some really exciting web projects coming out. One of the ones I know I'm pretty sure we can talk about is this one called Refrigeration, which is a crowdfunding project for, it allows nonprofits to raise money through energy efficiency improvements, so they can use the crowd, fundraise through the crowd, and they'll actually pay back the people that contribute to the project with the energy savings, because Hawaii has some of the largest energy rates in the nation. We pay about 35 to 37 cents a kilowatt hour, and the rest of the nation pays about 12 cents. So if we can improve the energy usage for these nonprofits, then they actually save a lot of money, and they can pay back their contributors with it. So that's one project with the Blue Planet Foundation. We also do some work with an education consultancy called Developing Critical Thinkers, and they needed a web application that allows for mind mapping for students. And that's a really cool project because most education goes in this kind of like linear way where you if I'm a teacher, and I used to be a teacher actually, like a long time ago.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you teach?
Geometry.
Geometry, okay.
So
mind mapping makes sense to you.
Well, kind of.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what is mind mapping?
Yeah, most people know it as you have an idea, so you draw a circle around it, and then you have another idea, and you draw a circle around that, and you connect them. So you understand that this idea is connected to that idea.
Oh, it's kind of like a flow chart.
Kind of like a flow chart, yeah, exactly. And traditional education kind of goes where the Socratic method, where I speak to you about something, and I hope you absorb it, and then you regurgitate it back to me in the form of a quiz or some kind of assessment tool like that, like quizzes or exams or homework. And homework tends to be practice and repetitive. What the Developing Critical Thinkers consultancy is trying to do is something less linear, something a little bit more abstract, where you can create this mind map, but actually comparatively assess it. So a teacher can make one, a student can make one, and we're able to assess the information between those two to see if the students and teachers are making the right connections that the teachers want them to make.
Oh, so it's like another way of essentially quizzing a student if they understand the concept, is by having them make a mind map that displays how the process should work. Is that it?
Yeah, kind of. It's a little bit. I feel like I'm doing it a disservice a little bit because it's a little bit more complicated and a little bit more simple at the same time. But basically, being able to compare the way people think about things in a very real and real-time way. So it's not something where a student would just have to type something in and then wait for the teacher to grade it. It can happen in real time, and so teacher can give real-time assessment to a student without actually having to like sit down and grade papers and stuff. But that's like one aspect of it. There's a few different dimensions to that, and we're kind of really excited to have that one launched soon. And the third pillar, of course, is travel infrastructure. So we're working on a parking application called StallShare, which is basically Airbnb for parking spaces. And driveway owners can rent out their parking spaces to commuters in the area. So if you live in the Manoa area and you don't use your driveway during the day, and there are a lot of people in Manoa that kind of already do this, and so there's an existing market out there, and we thought we could just optimize it by putting it on the web and giving driveway owners a an easy way to share their parking spaces, and so students in that area can sign up for our application and rent. And we handle all the credit card processing and the monthly billings, so a driveway owner won't have to worry about like invoicing or asking someone or tracking someone down like, hey, did you pay this month? Did you pay this month? It's all kind of taken care of for you.
As long as that car doesn't leak in your driveway, I suppose it's all right.
Yeah, we do not claim any liability for that. We're a service that carries the information between the driveway owner and the students.
So how many people are using that service now?
None. Well, we have, I think we have about 40 pre-sign-ups, but we didn't launch the application yet. We do have sign-ups online right now at stallshare.com, but we're looking to release it in the next few weeks. Actually, it's a nice little Rails app that we built kind of on the side for fun, but mostly because we see a need for that in Hawaii, in Honolulu, where we have. We either have the first or second worst traffic in the nation.
First.
Is it first right now?
We've made it to the top.
Yeah,
we've won.
I know.
We've won.
Yeah, and so like I think you said to me outside that a third of all traffic is actually people looking for parking. And so if we can alleviate that problem, then I think we've done a good service for Hawaii, and we've built like a decent business, because it doesn't take too much resources for us to build that and to iterate upon it. And if we can make that a sustainable business, then that's awesome. But we run these things like small experiments. We see how much traction we're getting. So the first step in that was kind of building a market viability model, where we just had this pre-sign-up page, and then we actually advertised through Craigslist and through Facebook, and just saw, do people have a value for this? And we actually did that with a few other products too, but this is the one where we actually got signups, and so we're like, okay, then we should build it.
We should probably make it.
Yeah.
Hey, that's good. Make the news before you catch the thief, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of that mentality.
We want to know if it was worth it, right?
Yeah.
So we built that market viability test first, and then built the Rails app around it.
Well, I want to hear about some more of your projects, but we have to run to a quick break. I'm your host, Attila Seress, here with Spencer Toyama of SudoKrew, and we'll be right back after this break.
I'm Hong Jiang, host for Asia in Review on Tuesdays.
And I'm David Day, host for Asian Review on Thursdays. Both of us broadcast our respective shows at 4 p.m.
And my topics tend to deal with questions related to environment, culture, history, and sometimes human rights.
And my shows tend to be on international business, foreign policy, geopolitics, and national security. And you can watch our shows live on the ThinkTech website at thinktechhawaii.com.
And you can also watch us on YouTube or Olalo.
So come join us on Thursdays at 4 p.m. I'm David Day.
And on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., I'm Hong Jiang.
Aloha.
Hello.
We're back, we're live, and you're watching ThinkTech. I'm your host, Attila Seress, here with Spencer Toyama, and he's with SudoKrew. He's, I guess, one of the founders, and they solve really big problems using technology for local Hawaii businesses. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about some of these other problems? I know we talked earlier about transportation as being an issue. You have a parking stall kind of Airbnb product where there's an app, you can rent out your parking stall, and that's very valid. That's the new economy. Everyone is sharing their power tools to their ladders to their parking stalls. It all makes sense. I think you're on the right track there.
Yeah,
And
well, it's not just about solving problems for businesses. It's about solving problems that are relevant to our society. And we kind of have this belief that if you're solving important problems, then there's probably money in it somewhere.
Oh, great.
Right?
Even better.
Yeah. So we work with different partners, but I love having these conversations, hearing about what people think of as problems that are afflicting us in society. I think transportation is a huge one. I just had like a really nice talk with Brandon Reed from Manifest, the bar. I don't know if you like whiskey.
Well,
But
tell
they're
me,
not-
what was the conversation?
Yeah, they're down the street from here, but he runs like a little bike shop. But we were thinking that it would be really cool to have a bike sharing program where we initiate smart locks, and these smart locks have an API built around them, and have electric motor assists hooked up to the bikes as well. But what we'd be able to do is track the bikes in any part of the city, and so people could have a bike share program that doesn't need physical space to exist, because you would control where the bikes are, if they're locked, if they're rented out, or if someone has a monthly subscription to have access to this road transportation to get around the city really easily. And so the challenge in that is part of our road infrastructure, but I think there's a huge incentive for something like that, just because every bike off of the road, or every bike on the road is one car off the road, right? So if we can eliminate, let's say, like 200 cars off the road, and that saves maybe 10 minutes of traffic per person commuting every day, then we're talking about hundreds of man hours and productivity that Honolulu gets back because of that. And we can still, run a business off that once we figure out what the price points are. But this is still like in a super ideation stage. But this is the kind of stuff that we like to think about solving super relevant problems to our society. That's also why we like working with the Blue Planet Foundation, because they're trying to solve these energy problems, not just that crowdfunding program that we're building with them, but also figuring out how we're using energy and how we're using what is our access to renewable energies, and is there any way that information can affect usage over time, and if that usage has a correlation back to our demand and our overall price per energy. Can we bring down the price of energy by informing the public with those kind of things, or other kinds of mechanisms? So we love exploring those kind of things, using technology and the internet to help people in general.
Well, I like the idea of the bike sharing thing. That's very interesting. And I think I've heard that proposed before also. And the great part about something like this, is you can have more expensive bikes out there that are maybe safer and more roadworthy. There's a bike maker. They're very popular in Europe. It's a 3-wheel electric assist bicycle. Have you seen that before?
No, I haven't.
It's very cool. It's called, it'll come to me in a minute. But they essentially, you can drive this thing on a regular road and go for hundreds of miles without stopping, because it has that electric assist. And at that point, you can just jump out, charge it up. It's no big deal. It's like a hybrid, man-powered, small 3-wheel bicycle.
Yeah, there's a Copenhagen wheel that kind of does the same thing for, it can retrofit any existing bike to be an electric assist. And I think there's another program that came out of the Energy Accelerator, which is like a local accelerator out here. I'm a big fan of what they're trying to do too, because they're also trying to address the energy problem. But I think they had a bike share idea as well. I think I don't view these kind of things as competition necessarily. I think I view them kind of as evolution, where people are, whenever inventions kind of come out of society, they're always branches of kind of the same thing. Like Edison and Tesla both had light bulbs at the same time. There's another airplane manufacturer that not manufacturer, but inventor, that happened around the same time as the Wright brothers. And all these things are kind of inevitable. And I think just the idea that there are all these bike share programs kind of blossoming in different parts of the world, I think Honolulu I think it's inevitable that it's going to happen here. How it's going to happen, we'll find out. But I think it's just a good thing if a lot of different people are experimenting with it for the good of our society, as opposed to, I think people often get too caught up in the idea of competition, right? But competition isn't a bad thing. Competition makes you better, and you can learn from each other's mistakes and hopefully accomplish something out of it.
And so I'm guessing you're probably not going to go ahead with the bike sharing thing, but why don't you tell us a little bit about the energy, maybe a little bit more detail. Tell some stories about what you're learning with this energy program you're working on with the Blue Planet.
With that one's, we're working on a few different projects with them, but the crowdfunding one with nonprofits is, I think that one's really important, because it actually illustrates energy usage really well for everybody, right? By taking part in this program, we're fundraising for things like lighting improvements, and it's like, super unsexy to say, like, how many of you guys are excited about about lighting improvements. But the reality is that you can spend $30,000 in lighting improvements for a large facility, and it will actually save $30,000 over the next 2 years. And if I told you that I had an investment that has an ROI with a 2-year payback based on savings, that'd probably be a no-brainer, right? Because that's like what is that, like a 12% ROI or so, or bigger than 12% ROI. I think at 7 years it's 12%. But
Just depends on the term, yeah.
yeah, but if I could say that you could get your investment back over 2 years and continue to
Save.
gain interest on that over the next 30 years, that's kind of a really easy investment to make. And I think that's why solar is so popular here with hot water and photovoltaics. But energy efficiency improvements are actually a cheaper way to get the same kind of savings, and we don't think of that because, I don't know, it's not as cool maybe as putting PV up on a roof.
Energy saver. You know, it's funny because we've talked to people in the past, you know, solar guys, and they really push, you know, photovoltaics.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you're saying that there's other things you can do other than just PV.
Oh, totally,
And,
yeah.
and you can get a pretty good cut in the same way. There's something that's not as expensive, as invasive as solar panels.
Yeah.
So what can we do?
Refrigeration and HVAC are big
Really?
ones. If you can, I mean, anyone that has an AC in their house probably has an insane electric bill. When I talk to my friends in the mainland, I don't have AC in my house. I think like my electric bill's super small, like $80 a month or something. But
That's big by mainland standards.
yeah, by mainland standards, it's like man, you guys have a jacuzzi and an AC in there. But if you have an AC in Hawaii, then your bill's probably $300 or over. But if you can get a more efficient unit, if you clean it, those kind of really simple things can cut down. I think I've heard 10%, but you know, that's kind of me speaking off the cuff.
That's hundreds per year.
Yeah.
That's very good. And what else can we do? I've seen those energy saving bulbs.
Oh yeah,
now.
the CFL bulbs and LED bulbs. The LED bulbs can be kind of expensive, but I think they pay for themselves. I think within 3 years or so, but they last forever, kind of. Not
Well,
forever, but you know.
It feels like you're in a studio though when you're at home. Kind of like these lights right here. They're a little bright.
Yeah, these are LED bulbs, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
So this is what your kitchen looks like. So that is the trade-off. I know some people have gone that route and actually went back to the traditional bulbs because the color was just really rough on the eyes. It was hard to get used to. So I mean, how about what are some of these other nonprofits doing on a commercial level?
So some of these nonprofits, well, a lot of them are funding lighting improvements because that's the one that has the best payback. But
Swapping bulbs.
Yeah, swapping bulbs.
Okay.
But it's a lot of light bulbs. Somewhere like the YWCA, I mean, they have a lot of light bulbs, and it's kind of an old building too, right? I'm talking about the one in Honolulu, downtown Honolulu.
Mm-hmm.
But they're interested in the project, and they could save a lot of money by just swapping out those light bulbs. But also their AC, because insulation in older buildings isn't the best. So if you're running AC, then those insulation improvements can save you a lot of money as well.
Insulation. How so? What
Oh,
kind of
because you don't
insulation?
have a heat. You don't have the cool air being leaked out, right?
I
So the more efficient that your cooling is, the less that AC unit has to work.
And the ways to do that is by changing your insulation. You said cleaning your unit, I believe, can help a little bit too.
Yeah.
Changing your bulbs.
Changing the bulbs is a big one. That's an easy one too.
How about solar hot water? You mentioned that earlier. What is
Yeah,
is
solar
that?
hot water is a big one. I actually used to work for a solar company at one point too. But yeah, solar hot water is huge. I think it's about, I think the payback was around 2.5 years or so. It's probably, that payback period has probably gone down because that was based on 24 cents a kilowatt hour, I think at the time when I was working in the solar industry, and now it's at 35 cents. So it probably pays for itself a lot quicker now. But but even if you're someone, if you don't have a lot of people in your house and you have a smaller hot water system, you can insulate that hot water system better so that your thermostat isn't turning on and heating the water quicker too. So little things like that doesn't cost a lot of money to add an extra layer of insulation around your hot water system, right?
Yeah, that's pretty basic. It's like putting on a sweater.
Yeah, exactly. But if you can save 2 or 3 kilowatt hours a day, that adds up to that can add up to hundreds of dollars per year.
So insulate your solar hot water, even if you don't get. Oh, I'm sorry, your water heater. Even if you don't
the
get
solar
it.
hot water tanks that anything that qualified for the Hawaii energy rebate, those are all like super insulated. They have like really thick levels of insulation on them. But it kind of just comes down to being efficient, right? If you have a refrigerator, something that cools, then you want the most efficient refrigerator because you don't have to pay for the extra electricity to cool down those items. Or if you have a refrigerator and freezer, then you probably want to fill it up as much as possible because the items inside of it actually act as insulation as well. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's perfect because my freezer is completely stuffed.
Yeah.
So if I could just keep that stuffed, it's going to be better, right?
Yeah, because you have less air going in and out of it, right?
Oh,
so
I
the
see.
items themselves actually act cool. It's kind of like when you have a beer cooler and it's full of beer and ice and water. When you first have it set, the beer is actually maintaining the temperature. Or actually, that's a terrible analogy, but Pacific Islands, right? We're covered with water. We're surrounded by water, and water kind of acts as our insulation, and that's, aside from being near the equator, that helps regulate the temperature here because it takes a lot of energy to cool the water. It takes a lot of energy to heat the water, and it doesn't lose that heat really easily. So it maintains the temperature of the islands really well.
Well, that's true. We're on the same equatorial line as the Sahara Desert and some other desert. We're very fortunate here that we're surrounded by water. Otherwise, it'd be a pretty dry place.
Yeah, but it also keeps our temperature really nice too. But all those things of just being efficient with your energy usage, that saves people tons of money every year.
And so that's going to make a big difference to Hawaii nonprofits in particular, because you can walk in there and say, change this, change that, put up solar hot water, put in better insulation and some bulbs, and then your ROI is what, 2 years, 3 years?
2 years. 2
Wow.
years. So people can sign up at weefficiency.org, WEFFICIENCY.
We efficiency.
Yeah.
What's the we stand for?
We as in us, because as a community, we're trying to fund these projects and see them to fruition.
Is there any assistance available for nonprofits from the state side to help with these efficiency projects?
There are rebates available for some of these things, and the way WeEfficiency works is it kind of works as a financing mechanism for these nonprofits. And if you think about the way that we contribute to nonprofits right now, it's we give money, they have to pay an admin, or they have to pay their staff to do things. They have to pay for their facilities. They have all these overhead things that cost them money, and energy is one of those things. So if you contribute to a nonprofit's energy needs in particular, then that contribution is kind of recycling itself every year, because when you buy them that one energy efficient light bulb, that savings lasts them for maybe the next 30 years or so.
So it's perfect.
Yeah, it's like giving again and again and again. So it's like you give $1, it's like giving a $1 every 2 years, basically.
So you pay now and then save later. So that's perfect. Is there any information you want to share about some of these projects, maybe to our audience before we sign off here?
Yeah, you can pre-sign up for weefficiency.org, stallshare.com. Those are the two projects that we've been putting a lot of energy in lately, and hopefully we'll have some other cool things coming out down the line, and I'll be able to share it with you.
Well, and I'm sure you'll post it at
SudoKrew.com.
SudoKrew,
Yeah.
SUDO.
KREW.
Got it.
I think it's probably on your screen somewhere in this thing, right?
Well, you just said it, so they all heard it. So perfect. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Spencer, for coming into the studio and sharing your vision and some of the things that you're doing. And of course, if you like our show, go ahead and like us on Facebook, tweet about us, let us know how much you liked Spencer and all the shows we do here on Think Tech. I'm your host, Attila Seress. Be sure to tune in next week for more Next Big Thing, and be sure to keep on watching for more Think Tech. Aloha.